This is the Balancing Act by Security Compass, your guide to going fast while staying safe in today's digital world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome today to our podcast. Our guest speaker is Jack Freund. Jack, welcome.
Hi, Altez. Thank you for having me.
Jack, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience? Tell us a bit about what you do.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm currently serving as the head of cyber risk methodology for VisibleRisk, which is a joint venture between Moody's and Team8. And we're looking to build a credit rating to sit alongside, we're looking to build a cyber rating to sit alongside credit. And there are a lot of the risk analysts at Moody's, and that was sort of the impetus for the creation of this company.
Fascinating.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, prior to that, I've been working in cyber risk economics and cyber risk quantification for about 15 years, beginning with the work I did with FAIR and co-authoring the FAIR book with Jack Jones and implementing it both as a consultant internal to organizations and external to organizations. So I've been doing this for a long time, and this next phase is going to be pretty interesting.
Wonderful. Sounds good. So, if we take a look at the industry today, Jack, we have this gap here between cybersecurity and business value, right? We oftentimes hear about this idea that it's important to have cybersecurity, but there's a difficult conversation to translate this into tangible business value. Can you talk a little bit about that from your experience?
Yeah, sure. I think this happens sometimes when disciplines come up without necessarily the benefit of other mature disciplines. And let me say a little bit about that. There are established techniques for connecting many aspects of various types of risks to business value: credit risk, market risk, operational risk. In cybersecurity, we invented and created a discipline that didn't exist 20 years ago. I always say, as other people my age can say the same thing, this wasn't a course of study you could take in school. You kind of had to learn it on your own and build up into it. So a lot of the good practices and principles that were available from reference disciplines were not inculcated into the IT and cyber risk management practices that existed. So one of the things I think is really important, and this snaps into focus when you see things like the Colonial Pipeline, for example. Like, it's really clear that we understand this connection between cybersecurity and business, but sometimes it's difficult to have that conversation. And I have always said, and I think this is true today as it was years ago, but there's there's a sort of discipline that sits astride both the technology piece and the business piece. And I think that's where IT or cyber risk management sits today. Is these are groups of people who have to understand not just aspects of the MITRE ATT&CK framework, for example, but also how an organization makes money and what the operations are. And there is a discipline around that, and a sort of natural curiosity, which is how do we make money? What are the key dates and times and products and customers? And then knitting together risk products that connect that business piece to that to those technology pieces. There are executives that business executives that don't understand and don't have clear visibility into the types of technologies that deliver the products and services that they know very well. And I think this is really the job of IT professionals to say, okay, here are the things that support this product. Here are the apps, the servers, and databases and applications that we care the most about. And this is why it's important. And without that kind of connection, I think it's a disservice to those people making business decisions.
Interesting. So now we get into this idea of modeling the risk in a way that makes sense. Can you talk a little bit then, Jack, about these risk modeling approaches and some of the challenges when it comes to cybersecurity?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Risk modeling is interesting. There are different ways to do it, and the philosophy that I take when I'm doing it is to build what's called a parsimonious model. You want it to have high predictive value with a limited set of variables. If you go too far and you collect too many variables, it's over parametricized, and you can't make any decisions because there's too much data points coming in. So you have to find things that are key indicators that allow you to say, this is the 2 or 3 or 4 things that are really meaningful in the concepts in the context of the overall thing that you're modeling. So one of the troubles that usually people come to when they start to approach something like cyber risk quantification is they're looking for perfect sets of data to make decisions from, and that doesn't usually exist very often. So instead, what you have to do is find key pieces of data that allow you to extrapolate into a larger data set. And this is why doing quantification with things like ranges is really important, because within a range is typically the right answer. So you have to sort of find the right data sets to do that. One of the things that has been a bit of a struggle is to find those data sets in the past. And there are a lot of techniques that I've talked about and I've advocated for that involve things like doing subject matter expert elicitation, and those are valuable. But one of the things I think that's also valuable is organizations that are able to bring data to the table and tell you those kind of things. And I think that's an important aspect of this too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So if you project out and look at this cybersecurity risk modeling and trying to provide business value as we go through this, where are we headed in, say, the next 18 months, 24 months? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a shift in acceptance of cyber risk quantification. I'm just thinking about some things I've worked on recently. I published a white paper for ISACA about CRQ methodology. Organizations that maybe in the past have been a little bit wishy-washy about it, I wouldn't characterize ISACA that way, but organizations that maybe had not endorsed it fully, I think are starting to do just that, which I think is an important milestone. But at the same time, I have a regular column for an ISACA publication, and what I wrote there this month was something called CRQ purity test. And effectively, I can summarize it this way: there is value in different types of security assessments. There's value in maturity assessments. There's value in benchmarking. There's value in control evaluations, and there's also value in cyber risk quantification. These things can work together in harmony. And I think sometimes, and for a while, perhaps myself included, those people that were advocating for CRQ type approaches to risk modeling may have gone a little bit too far in saying these other things are not useful, don't provide value. But I think in working to build this global cyber rating that my company is working on, I've had to think about things a little differently. And that's where I'm like, okay, these other things do have value, and they are able to be combined together in ways that I think is unique and valuable. So I think that's what the future holds, is there's going to be more centralized third-party evaluations of these kinds of things. And I think that the data sets to do this is going to become much more readily available for people over time.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. That's great. Well, Jack, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Altaz.
Want to learn about what Security Compass has to offer? Check out securitycompass.com/demo for a free demo today. Want more of the balancing act? Be sure to subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts for more episodes.